40 to 40 is a blog and podcast hybrid project looking back, living in the now, and pondering on the future as Raymond Nurse turns 40. Each blog or podcast episode will feature topics beginning with F, such as foundation, family, financials, frenemies, and much, much more.
Well, hello, Raymond. Another week, another F word. This week's F word is finesse. What is your first 5?
So for today, I just got off the road, and in typical Wendy fashion, she is horrible with text messages and with her phone. I messaged her, today's what, Friday? I messaged her on Wednesday. She's just getting back to me today. And so I told her on Wednesday, well, I told her last week actually. I was talking her name in the blog, which was the one on fashion. She's like, oh Lord, you can make these people think that I sound sort of crazy woman. So then she says, what are you talking my name as saying? I told her, I was telling everybody that essentially the reason I got into other colors outside of wearing black is because my mom looked at me and my mom was like, well, you always say black all the time like this. You just worship the devil. And so she made this suggestion that I wear other colors. The funny thing though is within this week that I hadn't heard her, she was like, I was telling somebody that story a couple of days ago. I was like, well, you definitely 20 years later, you haven't changed one thing except your clothes. So it was real funny to see that in terms of fashion, as I wrote a lot of the choices that I've made, they're influenced by others, and then I influence other people in their fashion. So it's a whole merry-go-round of what we wear and like who makes you fly from who makes you not so cool. That's pretty much the first 5 for today.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Wendy. I'm also a big fan of black. So as the t-shirt will let you know that I'm wearing currently. So maybe I should take some advice myself. But let's move into this F word. I know I feel like I say hard when I hop on the mic because there's just so many F words to roll through. But this one in particular, you've written out a few things in terms of what you want to talk about today. And the first one is another apology to Miss Wendy. Why is that?
Finesse. So this episode is pretty much centered around the ladies and the apology for my mother. I've made love once or twice before in life. This is the first time she'll likely hear it.
If you don't have any kids, there's no way to prove that. So,
I mean, true. That's a good way to look at it. And I remember I was 19 for my open heart surgery. So the doctor was going through this list of all of these things that you shouldn't do. And so he was like, my mother's there. She's standing over one shoulder. My uncle, he's standing over the other shoulder. And this doctor is going through this list. So he says, for these 6 weeks, this is what you can't do. You can't ride a bicycle. You can't go in the kitchen and cook because apparently in terms of the wound and healing, heat can have some sort of adverse effect on it. You can't do a lot of strenuous activity, running, and he's going through this long list, drinking. So he's this list, and he's like, so like drinking alcohol is like, because I didn't start drinking until after my surgery. So it's drinking alcohol, I don't do that. Smoking, I don't do that. And then the doctor is also saying, because they've tested my blood and they got my everything, all of my information. So he's confirming, like, yeah, for sure, yeah, he don't drink, he don't smoke. And then the doctor's like, like sex is like, I don't do that. Because here are my 2 seniors right over my shoulders. And I'm like, I hope to believe me. And so yes, this episode definitely has to start with an apology. Mom, if you ever listen to this, November the 17th, 2001, that was my first time, about 10:20 in the morning. we're here so she could as well get all of the information one time, and
All right.
everybody else could be like, OMG.
I wasn't ready for the exact date and time of the deflowering of Raymond Nurse. That was not on my bingo card for today, but here we are.
Here
I
we
was
are.
thinking of that Bruno Mars song, "You Got Me Dripping in Finesse." Like that was what came to mind for me. But it's not about me. So you've already given us a date and a time of your deflowering. What else in terms of finesse and the ladies? You have broken hearts on a one-way street, nice guys finish last, most suave moves. Like, what is your dating history and relationship with the ladies been like?
So I would say that definitely when I was younger, I was a lot more on the side of, I guess, the church with the approach to a lot of these things, where you find this lady, you fall in love in secondary school, romance, all of that jazz. You go on to get married, and that's that. But then as you get older, and plus with doing a whole heap of moving, I have accepted that it is not that straightforward, just in terms of finding a union. And I almost envy persons who have been able to stay in one place for an extended period of time and build something meaningful and something beautiful, because it is hard in these streets. It can be rough, but realistically, back in the day, growing up, it was a lot more, I guess I would say, pure and simple, just in terms of like the unions and how everything kind of kicked off. And in secondary school, this was the first time I really found out that, I guess, charm and charisma is a big part of finesse, and like this whole how you interact with people. I
Is
had to
swag?
be,
Is swag's a term y'all use? Do y'all use swag? Gotta have a little
I think
swag.
I think there's swag is used, but so there are two different types of, I would say, Caribbean people. I feel there's the Caribbean that is not really Americanized. And so then you would come across, growing up, words for me would have been like flamming. Flamming is you're courting somebody, and we would say your love interest, a tussle. So you're tussling. And so we had, I don't know if tussle is a thing here, but we had this set of words that these words were like,
It is not.
we had this set of words that these words were very Caribbean and very specific to finesse and this entire man, woman, and relationships and all of that. But then there's another segment of the Caribbean where they've traveled extensively to America. And so you might hear some of them in the minority saying, like, oh, that guy got real swag, or and even I'm sure you would probably hear somebody talk about, even going back to fashion, you would probably hear somebody talk about the drip and things that
Mm.
you would hear here. But for the most part, we have entirely different terminology. And so then when you flip over to Jamaica, Jamaica is a gallus. And when you're in St. Lucia, you would look and say a broken heart, you got gold well. And so they fling in some French or some Creole. And so it's a big hodgepodge. And in it, you just got to recognize, hey, you know what? This is the context. And if you're in a place, you learn the words so you don't say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And then people will be like, how dare you? And so that's kind of how it came along. But going back to November 17th, I only ended up on that day because we do this thing in church on the Sunday, and I blame any finesse that I have acquired in my life. It started in the church. And so we do this thing on Sunday where we have birthday greetings. And the birthday greetings, you stand up and people sing to you and all of this madness. This Sunday, before my birthday came around, uh, young adult leader in the church, trying to make sure I don't identify people while I talk these things, but a young adult leader in the church gave me a birthday gift. It was an envelope. It had in a birthday card, and it had 3 condoms. The jock. That's right. Fix your face. And so I get this card. I get these 3 condoms, and the card says essentially, "Happy birthday! You get into that age. Be safe." I had just turned 17, so they were like, you get into that age. Be safe. Boom. So here we are. I have these things, and so now it's like, you got condoms. You got to use them. If I was not given them at that point, I would have probably lasted long after my 17th birthday, because the way I was raised, for me to get up, to go into a store and to have the gumption to say, "Hey, I would like to purchase this pack of condoms," and everybody can be like, almost shocker, or in my mind at least, because the first time I bought them, and I bought them down in a deep dark corner of the bus terminal, where I just am like, oh my God, such shame is attached to this thing.
Can I just say the self-checkout must have saved many a youth and teenager much embarrassment because there was a day where you cannot just simply go to self-checkout, scan your item and leave, right? Like you had to interact with another person and they knew and they looked at you like, oh, this is what you buying today? So self-checkout has saved lives.
Act
I'm convinced.
or created them.
Oh, that too. I
And
mean, at least
so,
they're practicing safe sex. So
yeah.
we're
There's
gonna
definitely
hope
that.
it's saved more than it's hurt.
Yeah, I could get behind that. And so 17, if it was not for this lady in the church giving me that birthday card, I would probably still be a virgin to this day. Of
Oh,
course, you're
okay.
a virgin.
Okay. All right. Sure
And so
thing.
but no, the crazy thing about it, where finesse comes into play, is I remember I'm in secondary school, 12 or 13, and yes, you're meeting a lot of the classmates. They're women from all over the island. And so, you'd like, this person cute or whatever the case may be. But I am still extremely reserved, and I still keep to myself, to the point where Reverend Cumberbatch. So we had this Reverend, I could call the name, everybody know who was the religious studies teacher at the time. So Reverend Cumberbatch looked at me a day, and I was walking to a class with one of my friends, and he says, "Well, nurse, every time I see you with a different woman." And he started talking about, safe sex and all of these different things. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about? That is grown people things. I'm 12, 13. And so I'm looking at him like, you gross. I don't like, this isn't even making sense to me. But he's likely doing it from a place of, trying to have me prepared for the future, the now, because he seems to think that I was in these streets hoeing from the tender ages of 12 and 13. But in my mind, I am looking at it like, and I've had some not nice nicknames, and I've had not nice nicknames. One of my nicknames was Hockey Slut. And again, it came from, yeah, slut is not as nice a word here as it is. Like, it's not a nice word in Barbados, but it's whatever. We use it more in terms of if somebody is a womanizer, that kind of context. And so, yeah, so I had this nickname, Hockey Slut. And this nickname was given to me again. I was like 14, 15. So this is years before I even lose my virginity. But somebody just thought that because I am super comfortable and I guess charismatic around women, that I doing the most and I live in my best life. So that was one of my nicknames. Another one was Sleaze. And so I had these not nice nicknames way before, I would say between 13 to 16. I got a good few nicknames that when you hear them, you'd be like, oh my God, like this heathen. But I am up at church every Sunday, still singing in the choir, still doing all of these things and trying my best to stay on the straight and narrow. And again, everybody else is like seeing something entirely different. So finesse is a very interesting word, and I wanted to talk about a lot of these things in a way that is as respectful as possible, but still, it is a part of life. It is a part of me and everybody else, and it is one of the themes. So here we are today.
So tell us what your smoothest, suavest move is and your cheesiest move with the ladies.
So my smoothest move, it was a lot of logistics involved. And I was a real lover boy. I believe in romance. I used to write poems, and I would never forget. I had this teddy bear that I had gotten from one of my girlfriends back in the day, and I used to travel with this teddy bear during university time. So I'm in college, and this teddy bear is in my book bag. I going through airport security. They're searching for God knows what, and to find the teddy bear. And this lady is ready to rip the head off of this teddy bear because in her mind, you look at me and I'm not supposed to have anything of sentimental value. So she probably was like, yo, this teddy bear got in drugs. So she ready to find some paraphernalia. It's like, no, it's just a teddy bear from someone that I adore and that they adore me back. Like the end. And so my smoothest move during my Loverboy days, I would say there was this lady. Should I give her country? Like, we're here. So I met this Trinidadian lady when I was studying in Jamaica, and she was vegetarian, pescatarian. And I remember the first time I saw her, I just thought to myself, this lady is gorgeous. Gorgeous, yes, physically, but her spirit was just, oh my gosh. So then I remember I met her and she was talking to one of my neighbors at the time. Friend of mine was living right in front of me, who was also a Trini. I was like, hey, how you doing? I just try to move real smooth and thing, and I went long about my business. So then after the fact, I'm like, yo, who is that? Tell me more about her. So then I get the information, and is different to up here. Up here, you don't know anybody really, no, and nobody don't know you. So there's not there are degrees of separation that are vast. So this lady, I find out she's single, and I told my friend, I said, hey, listen, I gonna put together a line because it was a meeting in passing, but I said I am gonna put together this line. What I want you to do is to ensure that she comes to the line. And then what I want you to do too is have a group of women come to this line because I'm gonna bring my boys, and at the time, I think we had maybe four to six guys hanging out, and she probably it was maybe like four of them. So 10 to 12 came over to the house that day. And I told all of the guys, I'm like, listen, fellas, this is the woman name. I showed them the picture. She off limits. I talking to her. I organized for y'all to have all these other women talk to whoever you want to talk to. Do not talk to this lady. So the stage set. Then because she vegetarian, pescatarian, I make sure that I get some pots that meat never touch them because it's like I respect it, even you belly. So I get these pots that meat never touch. I cook up a storm, and man, I put my best foot forward and then some. So she came over, everybody talk and thing, and ends off, and I put in my time. And yeah, she ended up being the last girlfriend I had during college, and that was it. I was like, yo, I pull out so many stops and I do the most. So I would say for sure that is probably the most suave thing that I have done where courting is concerned. I've probably done other stuff, but that one, like I remember that was a 2, 3 week endeavor. And then the cheesiest. I don't necessarily I can't think of cheesiest off the top of my head, but I do know I definitely dropped the ball quite a bit. Um I I, I have one. I'm again in Jamaica studying I think my last year because my last year in Jamaica, this is after surgery, and I was playing a lot of field hockey. And no, this is my second last year in Jamaica. And I was playing a lot of field hockey. There was this Jamaican lady. She was horrible. She was such a bad hockey player, but she was a cutie for sure. And I remember every single time I was at hockey, and this is how I talk. So I had one of the few non-Jamaican accents at the hockey turf. So you would hear me talk and you would know he isn't from here. And I remember I was eyeing this woman and I never really spoke to her, but I was eyeing her and trying to let her know, hey, I see you and I see you seeing me. This lady pulled me one side today and she was like, yo, tell me something. So at this point, I was like, yeah, I in it now. It's my time to shine. She's like, you're a batty boy? I'm like, huh? He said, no, I'm not gay. We're like, wait, I was so lost for words. And all of this time that I check in this woman and I feel like my swag up to all, this woman looking at me like, yeah, he gay. So, needless to say, she would not believe that I was not a gay fella. And I was like, so I would say that's one of the cheesier moments for sure, where the finesse was definitely off kilter.
I'm so glad you got the girl after all the effort you put into your most suave story. Let me say that. With the cheesiest, I feel like I need a replay. Like I feel like I need to see the environment to better understand what went down in that scenario. But as the audience, we'll take your word for it. So, dating apps, green cards, and where you're at now. Tell us about it.
So where I'm at now, I I am at a place where I would like to settle down, depart these streets. These streets have become extremely scary. I would say they were
Big facts.
they were ticklish. They were ticklish before the pandemic. The pandemic just, yeah, boy. Like, I think there is an immediacy and there's a bit of damage that is probably coming along with dating apps and just with the internet and with echo chambers. So people have some extremely interesting views about everything in life and they're running with it. I'll give an example. I have a housemate. She's a lady. I don't see her as anything more than she's a really good friend of mine. We used to work together. And the reason I have a housemate is because I have a bigger picture in mind. I moved to America at an older age, so there's not years of working and saving. So I'm catching up, for lack of a better term. I would like to think that if I present that to someone, they would be like, hey, this fella had on right. But what? You got a housemate at this age? Red flag. A woman? Red flag. You definitely dealing with her? Red flag. Red flag, red flag. And I'm like, yo, at this point, if I meet somebody and I say, hey, look, this is all the red flags. You could let me know if you interested in dealing with that or not, because I it 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 rough. It rough to all.
I just saw a post today of a lady who was talking about how she was tired of getting to know people for the first time. So she was dating somebody new. And he was like, hey, tell me about yourself. She sent him a PDF. And he was like, a PDF. She's like, I'm tired of telling people about myself. So I guess on your PDF is going to be all the red flags. And you can just start sending that as a document out to your
I,
perspectives.
I could as well develop one at this point because even with me, I am not born here. That's nothing I can control. I moved here to do my master's. I moved here older in life. I have been trying to get my green card and everything sorted out through work. So that way, I don't have to enter into a romance where in the back of my potential partner's mind, they might be thinking, this man only trying to talk to me because he wants status in America. So like on my PDF, I would be like, life is good in Barbados. I, I, I'm doing fine without the green card, you know? Because
I still think he'll be back sooner rather than later. So for all your Barbadian friends who are listening, just know he's coming back.
I coming home. Actually, you know, the last it's coming home was uh premature celebration for England at the last major tournament that they played in. They had this whole preamble, you know, it's coming home. I think they got to the finals and they got beat in the finals, and it's plenty heartbreak. So let me not use it's coming home or I'm coming home. But yeah, no, is yeah, all sport aside, it is extremely difficult to speak to people, to get to a point where, all right, hey, this is me, this is who I am, show me you, show me who you are, and we build and we move to suit from there. Like back home, who's that woman? You know her? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, she went to this school, she live in this area. That like you, that PDF, somebody walking around with that PDF and they give it to you, and it's like, all right, yeah, and then from there, you make something happen. But yeah, boy, post pandemic, wild.
Yeah. The art of dating is just has been lost. I feel like in general, people don't even want to date anymore the way that we used to. So it's rough. All right. So men doing better. Final topic before we get out of here for today. What does that mean to you?
Men doing better. This is also on the flip side of the same dating situation. So I think that the environment now is in a place where there are a lot more options out there to men. And I think it's also a situation where we as men don't understand the safety and some of the aspects that go into meeting someone new, talking to them, learning about them, and everything else. On my end, I try to, hey, if I am meeting someone and, you know, this thing is fresh, I try to let them know that, like, I get that men are doing better. I understand the dynamics, I understand the power that I have physically and psychologically and in many other ways. I get that. And this can't work unless you are comfortable and unless we take time and get to a point where like we're making sense. Because if I try to live in my comfort because I be chilling. I from a place where my door is open. You people I have had people come in my house and leave my house. I don't know if they take anything. I don't know the first name, the last name. I might know them as a nickname, but they come through somebody vouch for them. That is the privilege I have as a man. And that's a privilege that a lot of us as men, we don't really realize and we don't understand. So, yes, I get sometimes you might feel like, oh my word, you know, woe is me. Woe really is not you. You're doing much better and you're balling out. And be a bit more kind and be a bit more just genteel and aware of it. And yeah, treat the ladies nice. Treat the ladies like pre-pandemic Raymond. And not post-pandemic Raymond. And so, but no, yeah, all sport aside, man, I think we got the pick of the bunch. We'd be walking around these streets like a 5 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10. And we could buy a 12. We could buy a 18. And people would be like, oh my God, like what does she see in him? Limited options. Limited options. But yeah, nah, just treat people nicely. Um, have some rizz. Be, you know, think on your feet. And yeah, swag out. Swag out. Can they say swag out?
Sure. It's your podcast. You can say whatever you like.
No, but I mean, but
That's not a
is
usual saying, but I'm saying if
okay,
that's
nah,
what you
nah,
want to
I
say
can't I
today.
can't say that. So how would I tell somebody to, so I would just say, you know, like, you know what, have swag?
Sure.
Oh, there you go. Have swag.
All right. So when we come back next time, we'll be talking and diving into financials. But what are your final words for finesse?
So my final words for finesse is I have definitely been extremely fortunate to have encountered a lot of the lovely ladies that I have encountered in life. If I've broken your heart, I am extremely sorry. Like, every day I try to do better. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. And I hope that, yeah, love is a beautiful thing. I hope everybody could find it someday and just be with someone that you could be you, they could be them, and y'all just build and grow together. So, again, apologies, manners, and respect. Live long and prosper.
All right. See you guys next time.